Hello, my friends. Welcome to 605 Speaks. This is kind of a spontaneous go live. And my guest of the hour is me. In South Dakota, the sun has finally come out, and we are coming up on what I call festival season. There's a lot going on across the state right now, and there's a lot of people starting to do their outdoor activities like hiking, fishing, boating, cycling, things like that. And a lot of people consider those type of sporting related events something that they want to carry first aid for. I myself am not a spectacular athlete necessarily, but I do love to fest. I love to go to art festivals, music festivals. If you're not from South Dakota, maybe you don't know, we are home to one of the largest rallies in the entire nation, the Sturgis Rally every summer in August, the Harley-Davidson mega event. So in the hottest time of the year. So as somebody that likes to attend events like festivals, rallies, gatherings of all kinds, and not being an athlete, I carry first aid for those events. And I've had a few people ask me lately, well, what kind of first aid do you carry? And do you carry just for yourself, or do you carry things to help others as well? And it can totally depend on the environment. And so first thing, I should probably put up a little disclaimer banner. This is not medical advice. This is my personal experience. Living my whole life in South Dakota and attending events all across the state during all different types of seasons. I'm putting that banner up now, my disclaimer. My personal thoughts. We'll just scroll that right across the bottom for the duration of this. Boom, boom, boom. So again, not medical advice. This is just what I've learned over the years, being somebody that attends, like I said, art festivals, music festivals, rallies, other kinds of things that are going on as this is the season for them. So first thing, my personal belief is, even though I have some skills in first aid and things like that, I would only be able to help in a minimal way if somebody else were injured. I would be able to help stabilize, clear the area, make room, call for help, things like that. But I'm never going to carry more supplies than I personally need or can handle. Because I will tell you that I believe sometimes in helping other people, you can create more issues if the person has to say, go to the ER and get a bad cut or a bad burn treated. You don't want to have put anything on or in that wound that will make it harder for the ER to help them. Again, the motorcycle rally, it just in general, riding motorcycles with being a passenger with my friends and things like that, I've had a pretty decent burn on the inside of my ankle from exhaust pipe burn, contact burns, things like that. I've had some pretty severe sunburns, just had one last week, other things like that. I would never have wanted somebody to make the wound worse or put something in it that infected the wound. So I basically carry the basics. I do have Fanny Pack size is the perfect thing to carry. And it's very common now at different festivals and events for you to need to carry a clear bag. A lot of events require it. But I have always been one that's carried a clear, visible through bag. This with the shamrocks on it, I call this my shenani pack in case I get up to shenanigans and fall and hurt myself. So, but the reason I've always carried my first aid stuff in a clear, visible bag is because if somebody else needed something, they would realize I might have what could help them. So, but clear plastic fanny packs like this, go to your nearest dollar store, your Five Below, your Walmart. A lot of places sell clear fanny pack size bags now for events. Or I do have a crossover body tote that I'll sometimes use, like if I'm going to, like I said, a bigger art festival or something where I might want to carry my purchases with me as well. But let's talk about what's in the bag. I just recently got some things to restock my bag, and I will tell you, you can restock your bag at the dollar store. But let's go over what kind of stuff I keep in mine. I'm dumping it out. So I do tend to carry a small thing of Tylenol, a travel size Tylenol, that I usually only use for myself. I don't think it's a good idea to ever give any drug or medicine to a stranger or another person because you don't know how they'll react to it. If somebody fell and was injured so bad that they were in severe pain, you need to call for help anyway, and you won't want to delay or mess up whatever kind of treatment that they might get later from emergency medical services by saying, I gave them some pills that, and that's just that. Aspirin and ibuprofen can thin the blood and things like that. So, so in general, I wouldn't give tablets or pills or drugs of any kind to any other person than myself, maybe a direct family member. But I do carry Tylenol for myself. And if I know I'm going to an event where I'm going to be standing all day or walking all day, I tend to pre-medicate. As everybody knows, I just had back surgery. I didn't know I had a broken back for a long time. But I did know if I went and stood somewhere for a long time, I might have some pain. So I would often, when I arrive at an event, take my 8-hour Tylenol, just bring a couple tablets along and take those so that I'm ahead of the pain and not suffering through the pain and then trying to bring the pain down. So I carry that for myself only. I personally have an EpiPen prescription. I have some severe allergy issues and concerns. I will often take an allergy tablet before I go out for a long day or where I'm going to be outside. You never know what things are pollinating or who's going to have a perfume on or what kind of bugs are going to be about. So I might take a Zyrtec, a Claritin, or an Allegra, a 24-hour antihistamine dose at the beginning of my time outside to help keep my allergies down. I do in my regular bag, I often carry a couple Benadryl tablets in case I get exposed to a big allergen. But again, I wouldn't give drugs to any other person in that case. But that's something else. If you have a lot of allergies and you know you're going to be at an outdoor event, pre-treat and protect yourself. Prophylactic medicine is a real thing. And talk with your doctor, talk with your pharmacist about your conditions and your other medications, and they can help you with a plan so you have safer outings. In our times of, we learned so much in COVID, but also I am a mom and had a little one, and sometimes you need to just quick wash up. I'm looking for something else that I had on my tabletop here that I carry, but maybe I forgot it. But I do always keep hand sanitizer because you never know when you're going to quick wash up. I would not spray this into a wound or a scrape because it's alcohol, and alcohol can burn and scar. And so I wouldn't do that, but I would use it to quick clean my hands if I had to bandage someone else up. So I've got my little Purell in there. And then the quickest way to fill your pack is to get a small to-go first aid kit and take out just the parts you need for the day you're going to be out. This is one I got at Walmart. They've also got some small ones that are just like multi-Band-Aid packs at the dollar store. Something I do not usually carry in my fanny pack is a cold pack, even an instant compress one. I might keep one in my car, so if I need it when I get back to my vehicle. I do usually, if I know I'm going to have a long day, a hot day, I will have a cooler with just frozen ice packs in it. If I have a heat exhaustion or if I, like I said, sometimes joint pain, things like that. So I can throw an ice pack on when I get back in the car, but I don't actually carry one on me in my fanny pack. It's added weight and it's not going to make a difference in some quick first aid triage. So that's for in the car. You can keep some antiseptic wipes. I usually keep one or two in case of a scraped knee, scraped elbow, whatnot, just so you can get the debris off. No heavy scrubbing or anything like that. Again, you get several in any tiny first aid kit. You don't need to carry them all. Odds are you're not going to have an injury, but if you did, one or two of these might be handy. I do usually, especially if there's going to be a lot of walking involved, I do usually carry a wider bandage that can go over a knee. I think I've got another example of a wider one here. Because I am prone to sometimes falling down and scraping my knees. So a wider 1 or 2 knee covering bandages, also good if you scrape an elbow, because we tend to catch ourselves with our hands, our wrists, our elbows. So a couple of those. I also, just in case, usually keep a roll of gauze, because if you do get a cut that you need to actually wrap, which I've occasionally done some hiking, gone a little bit off trail, got a pretty good scratch, and it was easier to put a Band-Aid on and then put gauze around it to keep it in place, or maybe to gauze the wound. So I do keep a little roll of gauze and a couple of larger size gauze pads. Because what if I were to get a puncture wound or something and need to like apply pressure or cover it? Gauze pads are great for that. I will, if I know I'm going to be at an event with a lot of walking or a lot of standing or a lot of heat, first thing, dress for what you're doing. If you're going to be out in the sun, wear a lightweight but long sleeves. Protect yourself from sunburn. Protect those tattoos from fading. Keep yourself covered up. Lots of sunscreen. But socks and good shoes. Shoes with traction, flat shoes, not your pretty heels for a festival or a rally or whatever. I will bring the gel bandages that are very good for blisters, because I can guarantee somebody somewhere is going to get a blister, but I might even put a preventative regular Band-Aid on each heel under my socks, just in case. So where are we at? I've got my hand sanitizer, my knee scrape Band-Aids, my gauze rolls, my blister Band-Aids. What if I'm going to an event where it might be really crowded? Maybe there's going to be a mosh pit. Maybe somebody's going to get a nosebleed. Then it's nice to have some of these like medic aid towels. If you had to cover a nosebleed, hold pressure over something, apply, whatnot. So I do keep a couple of those. Also good for if you need to pour water out on them and cool somebody off. And then I just keep a general selection of your standard size Band-Aids. Tiny, tiny ones in a triage event where you're out, like I said, at a rally or a festival or a gathering where somebody might get injured. Tiny, tiny ones, you're really not going to have the dexterity and the time to deal with them if you need to cover something. So go with your standard size Band-Aids. Standard finger cover Band-Aids. I usually just, like I said, throw a handful of those in there. You can replenish as you need to. I do sometimes keep knuckle Band-Aids in there. It depends on what I'm going to do. If it's hiking or climbing or scrambling at all, that can be useful. I always carry a chapstick. I just do. I keep one in my bag. This is something you want to remember if you tend to leave your first aid kit in the car, that this is going to melt and get all gummy in your car. So don't necessarily do that. But I do usually check and have a sunscreen stick and a chapstick, and I put those in my little shenani pack. We have learned in our modern era that it is good to carry masks. I do have some N95s and KN95s left over from the COVID era that are clean and still unused. I do keep one of those. Pesticide drift is real. If something were to get sprayed in the air, a chemical or anything near you, I don't know if you've been in farm fields or anything like that, and a lot of us in ag country know about that if something gets sprayed and it's airborne, even if its intended target picks up most of it, some of it's going to spread. So if you're the intended target, if you're that dandelion and somebody's coming at you with some Roundup, you're going to get a face full of it. But if you're 2 feet away from that dandelion, you might be a beautiful tiger lily. You're still going to get some too, that drift of any chemical agent. So if you know you're going to be in the area of something like that, the N95s and the KN95s are handy. Also, the typical face masks that we've all learned about in the last few years, you want to try and find some that have a wire in the top to bend to your nose. Blue side, colored side generally goes out. I don't know if I do keep some that are sealed in plastic, so they're clean until I pull them out. But yes, try and find disposable masks that have the nose band, because then you can bend it, especially if you're a glasses wearer. That's how you keep your glasses from being fogged. Put your mask on before you actually even need it. Bend that, get that under the nose. Get your glasses down on top of it. I have this one on crooked because one of my ears is apparently much higher than the other today. Look at me having trouble putting a mask on, even though I do it all the time. So there you go. If you bend that wire close to your nose and get it under your glasses, you're not going to fog. It also helps if you talk in it for a little bit before you put your glasses on. Get that kind of comfort level with it. So once you have that on, yeah, you want your colored side out, your nose piece tight, and then comfortable over your ears. So now, if you are sick, obviously, don't go out and mingle with the public. But anymore, we don't really know. There's a lot of illnesses out there and a lot of vectors. And there's a lot more reasons in the world to cover your face these days. 100% sunscreen, anything that's covered. So there's that. But I definitely keep, like I said, an N95 and like a sealed surgical mask. I usually do carry 1 or 2 extra of those for people that might be around me at a festival or a rally, because like I said, pesticide drift is real. If there's something in the air, even if it's a pollen, an allergen or something like that, those masks can help. What else do I carry in my all the time pack? Boys, you're going to be confused by this. I always carry at least 2 of these. Why? Because you never know when a sister's going to need one. And 2, like I said, if you have a fall and a bleeding wound, these are great for packing the wound and or putting on easily for coverage. So this is a maxi pad. I do, in my first aid pack, carry the ones without wings, because if I was going to use it, say on a scraped knee, I'd be putting it on and then using gauze around it, and the wings are just in the way. So you can either just take the plastic off, but you can also use the adhesive. Let's say the wound was on my shoulder and I want to stick it here and stick it to the inside of my shirt. It's not going to hold tight, but it's going to be absorbent. So, and also, like I said, you never know when a sister's going to have a sudden surprise and need one of these. So I always carry at least 2, if not 3 maxi pads in my first aid pack. You hear a lot of people talk about carrying tampons. One of my favorite factoids is tampons were invented to be a bullet wound stopper, to fill it up and expand it. Don't ever do that in real life anymore. Tampons, the thing is, if somebody did have a deep puncture wound and you put a tampon in it, if you don't know the true depth and what the stopping factor is at the bottom of the wound, the tampon can go in there and occlude the wound or move, making it very difficult if you go to the ER for them to help you. You're just packing the wound with a foreign agent that could move around in there. So never stuff anything into a puncture wound. Pack it with a gauze, apply pressure, that kind of thing. As far as tampons for lady business, tampons are kind of very specific choice. I would say safely all menstruating folk can use a maxi pad with almost any outfit and or figure it out. Tampons are a little more iffy. So the maxi pads are super useful in your first aid kit, whether or not you're male or female. What else do I have here in my kit? Rubber gloves. I do usually carry a pair of gloves that are in a Ziploc bag to keep them clean. You want to carry the nitrile gloves. Don't carry latex anymore. There's too many people with latex allergies. But whether or not you have to help somebody else dress a wound or dress a wound on yourself, you're going to want to prevent introducing bacteria to a wound, and or protect yourself from bloodborne pathogens. So I always carry a pack of gloves. And yeah, here in the bottom of this, I had already shown earlier, I like to carry a bigger Band-Aid to cover knees, and sometimes a couple different size gauze pads, and maybe a little bit of tape. So really, this little first aid kit that I got, I must have gotten it at Walmart because it says Equate. It's an 85 item one. It has way more than everything you need to carry in your Shenani pack. If you were at a festival or a rally or a walking event or a standing event, I just saw something else that fell out there. It does have a first aid guide, which you could always keep in your pack in case you needed to. That's handy. If you're ever traveling to an area that you're not from, don't just have 911 planned on your phone. If you're vacationing or whatnot, put the name of the nearest hospital and their address and phone number in your phone contacts. Call it hospital and then the rest. I think I have 2 or 3 hospitals from places I regularly visit in my phone, because if I had an emergency and was able to drive there, it was kind of emergency, I could do that. I wouldn't be able to get there. Also, if you couldn't get through on 911, you might be able to call a non-emergency number or call an ER number. So learn the area you're in. Learn what your backup medical response numbers are. The other thing to always carry when you're on a hike or a walk or at a rally or at a festival is water. Sometimes I will carry a little water bottle that I can fit right in my fanny pack, and that's my emergency help somebody water. Look at how good that fits in there. If somebody gets something in their eyes, or if they are dehydrated or overheated and needs water, I do usually make sure I switch it out and put a sport cap on there, because if somebody did have something in their eyes or a wound, you can squirt with that kind of cap instead of just pour it. So you can be very directional and not waste your water. Also, it's not going to be excessive pressure. One thing I don't have in my pack that I do sometimes carry, if I think I'm going to be at an event where there might be a chance of people getting injured, you never know when you'll come across a mosh pit, is a very small bottle of saline solution, because you could flush eyes with that if you had to. Don't carry milk. When I'm talking about chemical agents and pesticide drift and things like that, people have said over the years, well, if you were to get something in your eyes that's a pepper-based agent, pour milk on it and that will neutralize it. There's a lot of danger to using milk. One, what if the person's lactose intolerant? Milk allergies for real are a real issue. 2, if the milk gets warm in your bag, there's potential it's going to breed bacteria, be sour, be gross. And then it's also going to be gross on their body until they get cleaned up. Generally, if you look into clearing chemical agents from eyes, nose, mouth, water is your first and best choice. So kind of read up on that. If you know you might be exposed to a chemical agent, again, I always talk about Roundup. If you're going to be exposed to some Roundup, research Roundup. What do I do if I get Roundup sprayed in my face? So, that's safer. A lot of times I'll carry a snack. In case somebody gets low blood sugar, exhaustion, things like that. I try not to carry anything that might have peanuts in it, because there's a lot of peanut and nut allergies. I usually try and carry either jerky, but try and find low sodium, because you don't want to throw somebody's blood pressure for a loop. But jerky or actual just oat granola bars. Try and find something that's as minimal allergens as possible. Some of the, not fruit roll-ups, not like the sugary candy kind, but there's fruit jerky. A lot of those are great. They'll give somebody a sugar boost if they have low sugar. And I also like to carry a couple of the packets of like liquid IV electrolyte powder, because then I can add that to the water if I'm overheated or exhausted. So again, I have a table here now covered in all kinds of first aid stuff. Do I need to carry all of this all the time? No. Anything more extensive first aid wise than this, I might be doing more harm than good. I'm not trained on it. I have limited extended first aid training, but in general, first aid triage, civilian to civilian, you're going to need to carry the basics. Knee size Band-Aids, some gauze pads, standard size Band-Aids, gauze. I do also like to carry self-adhering wrap. That's sort of like, some people call it Coban, self-adhering wrap. That's good. Water, hand sanitizer just to clean up, not to spray into wounds. Gloves, a couple maxi pads, and masks. And that is my Fanny Pack. So I could provide some basic first aid for myself if I were to have to run from a bear through Falls Park and I fell and scraped myself. I would be able to clean up and treat that wound. If somebody next to me were overheating and needed some water, or same thing, somebody spraying pesticides, there's high pollen, there's allergens in the air, I would have a mask for me, a mask for them. Just your basics. Let's say they got stuck by a branch and got a bleeding puncture wound. I would have some towels, the medic towels and gauze wrap that I could apply pressure and wrap that and call for help. So not more than I can serve someone with safely, but something I can help with for the minor basics. I've learned that preventative measures help everybody better. Like I said, I'm going to take a Tylenol at the start of my adventure to stay ahead of pain. I am a big fan of kinesiology tape, or K-tape it's sometimes called. This is some red K-tape. I've got some strips of some black K-tape. Literally, you can get some of this at the dollar store. You can get it at Walmart. One of my favorite brands of K-tape is actually called Spider Tech from Canada. I order that a lot. I use K-tape a lot to support my shoulder and my back. But if you know that you've got kind of weak knees, or you tend to have lower back pain after a long day out, learn about K-tape and put it on before you go. Prevent yourself from aches and pains and things like that. So that's my preventative measure there. Sunscreen is a good preventative measure. Take your antihistamine. Carry an emergency antihistamine if you know that you're somebody who runs into allergies. If you're somebody that has an inhaler, like for an asthma attack, carry your inhaler. And if you're going to be at a very crowded event, if you carry an EpiPen for yourself or an inhaler for yourself, you don't want to hand that off to somebody else. Even if you think they're experiencing something you know about, they might not be, and the drug you give them might be more dangerous. But also make sure that even if yours doesn't have your name on it, I could kind of understand in case you lost it, you wouldn't want to have your personal information on it. But you can usually ask your pharmacy if they can give you a label, an extra label that you can cut and just have the directions of how to use it on your mouthpiece or on your EpiPen. So if somebody has to help you use your medication in an asthma attack or an allergy event, they have the instructions. So that's great. Make sure that if you have any other medications that you know you need to take throughout the day or take daily, if you're going to be at a long event, particularly if you're in extreme heat or extreme cold, have at least 1 or 2 doses of your meds with you so that you're and a buddy that knows how to help you if you need help with those drugs. I wouldn't carry any controlled substances. Don't carry anything that someone's going to try and rob you for or hurt themselves with. You just don't want that liability and responsibility on yourself. So yeah, remember, it is festival and rally season in the Midwest. And like I said, go buy art, go enjoy motorcycles, go stand in lines together and have fun, but keep some basic first aid essentials. so that you or someone else needs them. You've got your shenani pack. You're all going to call it a shenani pack now, in case you get up to shenanigans. And prepare yourself. Dress appropriately, dress safely, stay hydrated. Always, when I'm done at a long event like that, I will eat an apple or grapes because they have malic acid in them. And for me, that helps my body get rid of excess lactic acid. So as somebody with a chronic pain condition, that really helps. Like when you talk about my muscles feeling the burn, that buildup of lactic acid. For me, the malic acid helps get it out faster. So I always have those recovery fruits in the car or on the counter when I get home. I will try to eat a banana before I go out and spend the whole day in the sun. So I have some extra potassium, extra electrolytes. Those are things I do for myself. You know how to treat your body like the temple it is and take care of it. So anyhow, that is my advice. The basics that you should have in your bag with you when you're out and about this summer. A few Band-Aids, small bottle of water, maxi pads. Boys, learn the magic of the maxi pad. You could save a sister. Let me tell you what. Be good, everybody. Be safe. Wear your sunscreen. Drink your water. Bring a sweater. Hug a human today. And don't do anything. Don't do anything that you wouldn't want done to you in an emergency. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe.